Hello and welcome to the More Cheese, Less Whiskers.com podcast. My name's Dean Jackson, and today we're talking with Jamie Larson from Burnaby, British Columbia in Canada. Jamie is a audiologist. He works with hearing people who need hearing aids and helps them get the right help that they need. He's written a book and would talk about how he uses that book as a lead generator. And we kind of brainstormed some ways to make some of his advertising, his initial things in Profit Activator 2, more compelling versus convincing. And we talk about some referral strategies. So I think we had a great conversation. He's got a great action plan coming out of this, and I think you'll enjoy this episode.
Jamie Larson.
Dean Jackson. Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. Where are you calling from? You're in Canada?
I'm in Canada, yeah. I'm outside of Vancouver in a little suburb called Burnaby.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. Well, welcome aboard. So we have the whole, we got the whole hour to hatch some evil schemes here. So why don't you kind of set the context, and then we can see what we can do here.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Before this call, I didn't really know, which way I should go with it to get the most value out of it. First-time caller, long-time listener here, so I've heard a lot of your podcasts and everything. I have a hearing clinic here in Burnaby, BC. So we help people hear. We sell hearing aids and some other things for their ears. So over the years, I've kind of developed some systems here, really based on everything I've learned from I Love Marketing, from your stuff, your podcasts and stuff like that.
Sure.
It's everything that you'd be really familiar with. So I basically, I've been doing this a while. I've got a marketing system in place that gets most things done pretty well. It's all direct response. And after hearing all these podcasts, I really thought, I should be instead of scaling up and building out more physical clinics, what I'd really like to do is do the what do you call that now, the scale ready algorithm, and put that together
syndication.
and go that way. So that's what I'm more interested in. But like I said, I'm not sure if I've got everything dialed in as good as I should have it dialed in order to actually do something like that. So I don't know if I can get the most value from the call or the most value for the listeners for the call to get conversions better. It's kind of a fickle market. It's interesting. Or to just get straight to, okay, how would a guy, package this kind of system up? So if I was looking at how to package it up, really just that. I haven't packaged anything yet, but
right.
But now I'm looking at it saying, okay, well, what are all the pieces that I have? What do I do right now with my market, and how would I actually put that together? And then present it to other clinic owners.
Right.
So
the good news is that it's the same. They're making your business work better is sort of job one. It makes the syndication easier, right? Because ultimately what you need to be able to do is say to somebody, well, let me show you how it works. And that's really where it comes down to it. So how would you describe your before unit right now? What would you say is how it predictably works? How do you get new business right now?
All right. So I have, basically I generate, for what I have control over is lead generation and orchestrating referrals. So for lead generation right now, of course, I made a 90-minute book, which was probably, the best lead generation tool yet that I've ever used. I've experimented with a lot, and it works great. Yeah, it works. It works on so many levels. It works for referrals. It works to generate leads. So I use print advertising for the book, and it's really, it's as simple of an ad as the landing page that you guys created with the book.
Yeah, right.
It's very simple, and we get people to either call a number, which we tracked, or we drive them online. So to the website, and either way they'll opt in. So I have that. I also have in the book where I take the book out and put it into offices where I know that my target market is kind of hanging out, like other doctors' offices and stuff. And so they'll take the book, and in the back of the book I have something where it's added to go online to download a checklist kind of thing of questions to ask your provider. So I'm trying to get them online, so if they pick up the book, so I can get them online to actually, get back in front of them. So I use the book. The other thing I use for lead generation is with AdWords, I offer people a price quote. One of the I think the biggest challenges for my consumers is the industry is not very clear about pricing up front. It's very much the idea of let's get them in the door, let's get them across the table, and then you can give them the prices as if it's, as if it's kind of a secret thing that they're going to.
Right, exactly.
So instead, I do a price quote offer in AdWords. I take them to a landing page. I kind of segment them out between whether they're experienced or not on the landing page, and then I take them to a 16-question questionnaire to ask them questions and gather information. And surprisingly, everybody fills out every question, and they give me good information.
Sure.
And then what I do is they will. I have an autoresponder set up for a 5-day wait, so that gives me a chance to engage with them, with a very simple question. So if I ask them what their biggest challenge is, and they say, well, my biggest challenge is, hearing on the telephone, what I'll do is hit them with an email the very next morning after they've gotten the automatic reply email. I'll hit them with the email in the morning that says, hey, it says, I'm looking at your thing here. It says that you have the most problem on the telephone. Can you tell me more about that, or whatever, that kind of thing. And then I'll give them, because they have asked for a quote, I give them a quote right up front based on their answers. I'll say, okay, I would put you into this range. So I'm really just trying to get the conversation started. If I don't get started, after 5 days, they just go on to like a drip campaign. So those are really how I'm generating leads and customers right now, aside from referrals, doctor referrals and walk-ins.
Yeah. Well, this is great. So, you've got, it's kind of nice to hear you describing a system. You've been listening for years, you've implemented, and you're describing a system that sounds like something I would suggest or describe for you. And
Imagine that.
And it's working, so that's good. What would be some of the numbers that we can attach to it here? So you run, let's take one thing at a time. So you run this print ad, and how much does the print ad cost you?
Total with the newspaper that I'll do, and there's another little kind of a cheap but kind of endearing little monthly rag that comes out in the newspaper. I'll run the same ad. That'll cost me about $700.
Okay.
For basically for 2 weeks. I will, out of that, I will get, it fluctuates, but on the high end, average I'd say 21 people will come from that. So that's like basically $33 per lead. Out of that, I'll get maybe 3 people will book an appointment. And out of those 3 people that book an appointment, 1 person typically will buy.
Okay. And what's the average sale kind of thing?
The average sale is about $5,500.
Okay. So what you've got right there then is you've got a machine that turns $700 into $5,500 every 2 weeks, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what happens with, is that how quickly it happens? Like, so somebody, you place the ad, is it $700 twice a month, so $1,400 a month, or is it $700 for the whole month and you run it twice?
Oh yeah, you know what? No, I kind of misspoke there. So including both, it would be $1,400 a month. So yeah, that's wrong. So $1,400 a month, 21 people out of that, and then 1 out of 3 people buys on that. So there's still a profit. Definitely.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Of course, there's a profit. Yeah. Yeah. And so, is the 21 people a month, or per time you run the ad?
Yeah, it would be 21 people in the month.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Now, so when you look at that, then that your cost initially is the $1,400, and you get the 21 people, 3 appointments, 1 buyer. And does that all, what's the timeline on that? So you run the ad today.
That is a great question, because the timeline is what makes it all really tricky, because and we really have to keep track of this stuff over the long term, because I will have people, of course not off the book, because I haven't had the book for 2 years, but I'll have people come as far as 2 years out.
Yeah, of course.
Typically, of those 1 in 3 people would average, say, within 3 months they'll buy.
Within 3 months. Okay. Yeah. And what? Okay, that's good to know, and that's kind of the cycle of how long it takes for them to come in, kind of thing. That's your short version. Now, it's really interesting because, like you said, one of the things that we look at is the long-term view of this, right? So if you're generating 21 a month, how many leads do you have right now that are sitting there in Profit Activator 3? So if we break these down to, your Profit Activator 2 is the book offer that gets people to raise their hand. They ask for the book, and then they show up, as a lead. And now we're into Profit Activator 3, where you're educating and motivating them. How many people do you have in that category right now?
In that category, we have about 70 people now on that list.
Okay. So you haven't been doing this that long then? The book,
No, the book hasn't been going that long.
Oh, I got you. Okay, great. So when you look at other leads that you've had, like other ways of generating leads for people who want to or need hearing aids, how many from other sources do you have right now of people?
Of people from all other sources?
Yeah, prospects.
From just sitting as leads. I have 180 people on my email list and 70 people from the books.
Okay, great. There we go. So in that group now, how do you communicate with those people?
Well, this is where I really, I think I can make some gains here. So with the book people, now see, it's interesting, because with online it's really easy from a one-sided approach. It's easy for me because they're on an autoresponder. I can send them links and images, and it's just kind of very easy to communicate. But with offline, of course, it's more costly to get in touch with them. But we, from the time that they opt in for the book from print, the first thing we do is send them a book, and just send them a book with a little Post-it note that says, thanks a lot for getting a copy of my book. Here you go. Yep. Here's the checklist, because we already have their information. Here's the checklist that we promised you. And then we will, I think it's after 4 days, we will send them a nice little stationary handwritten note that says, hey, we run these little workshops every Tuesday from 10 to 2. So you're welcome to come out and check out some of the stuff. Uh-huh. And then again, about 4 days later, we'll send them another book that's got more information about hearing loss. It's a little more of a corporate kind of book, but it's not pitchy.
Sure.
And with that, we'll also send a letter that says, hey, have you had a hearing test? You can read about it more in this book. If you haven't had one, you're welcome to come on in, and we'll give you a test, for free, and a consultation kind of thing. Yeah. And then a week after that, we'll send them a gift certificate for $300 and it's a printed gift certificate in a nice envelope that says, hey, you can use this, and if you can't use it, you could feel free to pass it on to a friend. And after that, that's kind of where I'm stuck after that for the print, because I feel like I've kind of worn that part out. What I'd like to do is send them, some kind of information, but also have, say like the soft offers of the super signature kind of thing in there. Yeah. But I feel at that point like I almost need to be a little bit more, I don't want to say aggressive, but let's say aggressive, to make harder offers. But now I don't really, my clinic being a boutique kind of clinic I really don't like putting out offers where we say, hey, we have a big sale this week. Say, come in and say.
No, I don't want you to do a sale. Yeah, I mean, I'd rather see you stay away from a sale as the motivation kind of thing. Is to being there at the right time. People are kind of reluctant probably to move into that, especially if it's their first time hearing aid. Mm-hmm. I would imagine, right? Because going from, not having it to needing it. What do you think are the big concerns that people have about what would cause the delay in getting a hearing aid? Is it?
Well, the number one delay, whether someone is 60 years old or like literally 85 or 90 years old, they're concerned that the hearing aids are going to make them look old.
Yeah, right.
Right. Even if they're 90, they're concerned that the hearing aids make them look old. So that's
do you have stealth hearing aids that kind of? Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so there you just gave me some content idea. So that's number one. Number two would be usually is the cost, and number three, probably up with the cost for importance would be, are they actually going to work for me? Because if you hearing aids do work for people, if there's no doubt about it, improves their lives in a huge way. But there's also a lot of people who get hearing aids and they don't meet their expectations, which may have been set unrealistically to begin with. So that's a lot of that kind of talk happens. My friend had hearing aids. He never wears them. They stay in the drawer. He wasted all that money. So that conversation happens a lot.
Now, do you have the opportunity for people to test drive a hearing aid, or do they have to be? I don't know what's behind it. So are they? Is it like glasses where you have a prescription, or like a specific setting for it that you wouldn't? It's not like off the shelf kind of thing, or is it? Could I come in and try it and get a sense that, wow, this really does make a difference?
Yeah, you can do that. Absolutely. I mean, they can be programmed, infinitely, basically. So you can come in, give it a try, and then a week later come in and make a little tweak if you had to, and then try it out. We've done that, and I've run ads in the past that have said just that. Like mailers that say, come and do a free test drive of this new technology.
Yeah.
No no commitments and all that kind of stuff. And the craziest thing for me, now I know my competition runs a lot of that still, but for me, what I found is that brings in a different kind of clientele. That tends, for me, it doesn't tend to bring in the clientele who's looking to solve the problem, like and are ready for it. It's more the people who are curious. So I could have our last, the biggest flop was the last one, of course, and I had 10 different people come in over the course of a month to try hearing aids, and all 10 of them didn't adhere to the structure and the process that we had laid out. They didn't really wear them, so they weren't, and all of them brought them back, and just kind of were they just didn't want to really engage. So it was kind of like I chalked it up to them being not really serious, not really at the point where they're ready to solve the problem, just more curious. So I've shied away, but we do offer it still.
Well, but there's a difference between offering it as the reason somebody's coming in versus offering it to the people who have responded for your book, right? Like when you offer it to people, you understand what I mean? That there's a difference.
Totally.
that as a tool, it certainly is a good trigger. That it could be a step forward, moving step. I think that's kind of that could be an interesting thing. And do you do a lot of like dialogue style emails with these with the people?
Yeah, I do a lot of dialogue, and I really come from there, like from the point of view as an advocate for them. The things that just like the book, like the things that they need to know and what they should be aware of and what they should expect, and all of this. And I have about 3 months of an email of an autoresponder built out in terms of built out messages. I do communicate with blasts too, or broadcasts, so I'm not just leaving them in the dust, But yeah, so with the email, I kind of feel like, almost like the print where I'm, I've kind of exhausted everything, and I'm thinking for somebody who is looking at hearing aids, they're probably, not interested in receiving something all the time about hearing aids. It seems to be that they want to just kind of get information, get it done, and then, and then be done with it kind of thing. So I feel like I'm boring them to death by sending them more information. Hey, did you know that, did you know you can get hearing aids in different colors? I mean, I can't see them getting excited about that. One thing I've thought about doing is sending them other stuff that's just related to the market. Like, say, I've started sending some more emails about, like, say, for strength training, because I know that these, people are probably in their 60s, and I'll send them other stuff, like about health, and kind of tie it back into whenever you're ready, here's how I can help you kind of. But at the same time, I don't want to kind of veer off the path that, that we're the hearing aid people. Yeah,
I get it. How often do you get new models in, or new, advances, or new products? Or is it pretty standard?
No, it's we'll get new. The manufacturers will push, and I mean they do a great job of marketing to us. So they'll push out new products on average about every 8 months. We'll have something new from one of the manufacturers that we could surprise people with.
So part of what when you start thinking about it is sending sort of personal emails to people, like just invitations. Like do you send 9-word email to people? Have you ever tried?
I've sent many 9-word emails to an old list and to new lists, or to the new list. So yeah, I have done that. I try to always keep the emails as personal and I mean just again back to back to the Dean Jackson way, I send them as if I'm talking right to them.
To one person, right?
One person.
Yeah. So, part of that dialogue method, right? When somebody, if we take it, what's the title of your book? Let's take it right from the beginning.
The book is called The Savvy Hearing Aid Buyer.
Okay.
And then the subtitle is it's what you need to know about price and value to get your best hearing possible without overspending on bells and whistles you might not need.
Okay, great. And so it's a very interesting thing because it's like a consumer awareness guide, right? That you're using to let people know. What I would be interested in testing is upfront testing a price guide or a price report, on the beginning, like saying to, we did an example of this with, we did lots of things, but did with financial advisors on annuities, right? So offering the June, when we did it was, so it'd be the, October 2017 report on UK annuity yields. And this could be, it could be the same thing. It could be the October 2017 report on hearing aid prices, or that or a price survey, to give people an example of what the options are. Because a lot of times people, just like you said, the thing that frames the conversation sometimes is the price, and that often people are reluctant to give somebody a price because they feel like that's the thing they can hold back, kind of thing. And then once they're all primed and emotionally committed, and then they'll tell them the price, right? And it's kind of like, that's why you have to kind of drag people into it. But the corollary to that, or the funny thing, is that 100% of the people who bought a hearing aid from you got a price
Exactly.
at some point, right?
Yeah.
So that's the one thing. Not everybody who inquired about a hearing aid gets to the point where they get a price and buy from you, right? So people who didn't get a price didn't buy a hearing aid. And so there's an interesting thing where if somebody is, how big is the market, do you think, in Burnaby? How big is the market for hearing aids? How many people are there that would, need a hearing aid on an annual basis, or what? What do you know about the scope of the market?
Oh, I can't say very accurately. I'm sure I could do it based on age and statistics and within my surrounding area. I should know that, but I don't know that. But what I do know is it's a growing market, and the competitors are, very aggressive. I get my clients who come in and say that they'll have, almost on a daily basis, these massive, glossy folder brochure kind of maps kind of thing, size things that come into their mailbox. And so I get a sense that the market is growing, but I don't know how much of the market is, kind of available before they get scooped up by this. But that's that's just kind of sounds like competition fear. But so I don't know accurately for a number for that. I can't say.
Yeah. Well, because it's interesting though that I wonder if there are any industry statistics or whatever available, just to get a sense of what that market is and what percentage of people over a certain age? I mean, how old typically are your clients, or does it go all across the board?
It's kind of across the board, but I mean, I would say easily 80% of them are around the 70 years old mark.
Right. Okay. So once they get to that level, kind of thing.
Yeah, and
there's a good chance.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so, I wonder if people are, around they're probably get some sticker shock that they think that they might not have a sense. I had no idea that a hearing aid was $5,500. So I'm not in the market for it, but that's more than I would have expected that it is. Do you find that people get surprised by that?
At that age, no, not too many people get surprised.
Okay.
As far as the actual buyers, these are people who I think they're having a lot of conversations with their friends. I mean, it is a kind of a growing. It's becoming a more accepted thing, so people talk about it more, and so most people aren't really that surprised by the price. People who would be our clients anyway. Yeah.
Okay. So. That I wonder about the opportunity to maybe put that together. How many different options are there for people? How many different types of hearing aids, or what goes into the prices? I mean, is it like you can get the Hyundai of hearing aids and the Rolls-Royce of hearing aids? I mean, is there a range of different things? Like what goes into the value or the money?
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's like you can, basically they're, all hearing aids are all amplifiers. But what people really pay for with the technology is for the, let's say, we'll call it, the hearing aid with a smarter brain or a better engine, where it's able to help people in say have situations like background noise. A lot of my clients will say, when I'm talking to somebody across the table, I have no trouble hearing them. But if I have somebody who's walking away from me or not facing me, or if it's a group kind of situation, that's where they have trouble. And that's really what they pay more for with hearing aids. So people who get the Hyundai of hearing aids, it'll help them in most situations. But the people who get the Rolls-Royce, they tend to be far happier clients, and they're just able to participate more easily in group conversations. So there's a difference. And as far as styles, there's a kind of a handful of different sizes and styles. But for the most part, it boils down to the performance of the hearing aid. And as far as the pricing also, because the pricing is not just the product, it's also the service that goes into fine tuning it. So unlike glasses, where you go in and get glasses and they put those slides in front of you and you pick the best one and walk out with your prescription, hearing aids are both objective and highly subjective in terms of the benefit someone gets based on how they're set up and how they're chosen to begin with and how they're set up and programmed. Imagine like a soundboard in a mixing studio, Yes,
right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And then I guess the size and the comfort go into the other things like the...
Yeah, but those don't really have much to do with the price anymore, because everything it's not really a big deal now to have them small, because the entire industry has pushed everything to be really small.
Yeah, so invisible basically.
Yeah.
Right. Gotcha. Okay. So that kind of things, what would be the price spread between the Hyundai and the Rolls-Royce? What are we talking?
Our price spread for a pair of hearing aids, which bundles in all services, basically for the lifetime of the hearing aid, which would be an average of 5 to 6 years. Our price range will range from $4,800 a pair up to as high as $8,000 a pair.
Okay, so it's a tight band, but almost less than double from the top to the bottom. Okay, and is there any? Is insurance covered or anything like that? Are there any, or is it all out of pocket?
No, as far as like I say, we bundle all of the services. So for the lifetime of the hearing aid, our end of the bargain is to, keep them functioning at 100%, which means if somebody's hearing changes, we change the hearing aids. We measure their hearing yearly. We send out reminder letters for them to come back into the clinic for periodic cleanings and whatnot, because they sit in your ears. So, I mean, they have to be cleaned to work properly.
No, I mean, does health insurance cover that or any?
No, very, very, very little. It's almost all out of pocket. If somebody has health insurance, they might get $700 kind of like every 4 years for a pair of hearing aids. So it's pretty much nothing.
Okay, gotcha. So that's why the price becomes an issue or a concern or a factor. So I think I would definitely test that as a lead generator. Just a small test here to see if that generates some more interest, right? Like more where it's market data as opposed to sort of subjective data. Like the savvy hearing aid buyer is when you're sharing information, what you need to know, that's great and valuable information that people need to be convinced and to show them what to look out for. But there may be on the front end a way to get them to raise their hand to get this pricing guide, and then along with it deliver them the book. So the book is still holding its place, but we're going to get people to raise their hand using a different approach, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. Well, back in sorry, go on.
No, you were going to say back.
I was going to say back in the early days of I Love Marketing, 2011, 2012, I actually did have a price guide. I mean, I've done the consumer awareness guide. The best thing I did for leads was the price guide. The reason I changed from, and it did generate leads for sure. I didn't do print ads for the price guide. Actually, I did run them, but they didn't really work in this particular magazine. But I did do the price guide, and I morphed that into this price quote, because I found that the price quote, like, people would always answer these questions, and it gave me a little bit more to go on to kind of engage them. But yeah, I haven't tried.
Well, it's interesting that, there's a different vibe, right? And so much of it is the sense of, like, and we used this like on the real estate side, find out how much your house is worth is a different thing than here's the report on Winter Haven lakefront house prices. There's a different thing where it's market data that is not committing me to anything. I can get that without saying that I'm thinking of selling my house, and getting a price quote, the word quote feels like a bespoke thing that I'm almost like asking you to present me with an offer, right? Like there's a built-in sense of the start of a negotiation.
Yeah, I totally understand what you mean by that. Yeah, I
right.
Get it.
As opposed to, I get to see the market data on this is what hearing aids actually cost. It's why, the blue book value of a car, everybody gets excited about, what's the blue book value, right? Because that is arming me with the data that I need to frame the conversation that I'm going to have, right? I'm going into this knowing that this is what they should be selling for. Now I know that whatever price you quote me, I have a context for it.
Yeah. Wow, that's that's so cool. Because of course, if I'm going to look for a car, I'm not, and I have access to Blue Book data. I'm going to get that, so I'm armed before I go in and talk to a salesperson to tell me what the data is.
Right. Give me a quote. Yeah, and the quote is going to be that's kind of like, it's not. It feels like you're committing kind of thing.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. So that makes a difference, just like what's the most compelling thing, Now, another thing that, because I think that will improve the number of people that respond, but you'll also get now the opportunity to send along with it your book. And that's where, now that they've got that, now they have a framework to be a savvy buyer. And that then will lead to whatever your next steps are. Is the workshop is certainly one. Come on out. We do a hearing aid workshop or whatever you call it on Tuesdays, and or come and take a test drive. Try one out. That kind of thing. If you can do the or take this quiz, you're building up your super signature cookies here for people, right? To take that next step.
Yeah, and then so the like people, I'm kind of amazed because people will fill out these 16 questions and they'll put all the information and their biggest struggle in there, and that it's in itself could be a link in the super signature as a next step, not the entry, not the beginning step.
Should. Yeah, no, it should be, absolutely. That's exactly right. Yeah, that everything now is just what's going to help people move towards the next step. So
it's almost like
what drives it? What drives it is the the triggers. Is what are the thoughts that they're having, right? So if you look at the way it works on the real estate side, if somebody gets a report on the Winter Haven lakefront house prices, that shows them what all the Winter Haven, what the lakefront houses are selling for. But the main question that they're going to have is, well, how much is my house worth?
Yeah.
Right. And that's the kind of thing where, when you start thinking about it, if somebody's asking for this report, it's because they know that sooner or later, or in the short term, they're in the market for a hearing aid, and being armed and equipped with all of the market data, the pricing guide, right? That's going to be a valuable thing for them. And when you make it specific, like that, when we did the UK annuities guide, that was a report. That is like, you can imagine somebody's looking at that and thinking, okay, well, there's the annuity that pays the highest amount. They can use that information to make their own conclusion, So somebody looking for what the prices are, that gives them a range, but now you can also then shape into the questions that they probably don't even know that they don't know. Like
totally.
in all of your communication, when you look at it, you've got the levels that you have are the things that, what are the frequently asked questions? What are the things that everybody wants to know? And then you can also have, what are the questions that people should be asking but aren't?
Yep.
And that's where you get to frame. This is where things like the information that you share in your savvy hearing aid buyer, that's a advantage for people, right? It helps them be better equipped to make that decision. Now, when you start thinking about it, with the price out of the way, the price is there. They've got a general context for what the prices are. Now it comes down to, does it actually work? is it going to work for me, for my specific problem, or what's the best one for me? And that's where your scorecard or your whatever you call your questionnaire, or your assessment, is going to help you steer somebody into the right one. And then the education about it. Well, how does all of this work? There you've got your opportunity for the workshop, and then certainly the test drive is that's the thing where when people come in, that they can come in and take one for a test drive. Could I, if I get your pricing guide, and you say, come on in for a free test drive, could I call you up and say, hey, can I come by today? Like if I just came to you today, would I be able to test something out and see what's going on, or does it take a while do you have to order something, or you have to be prepared in advance, or?
Yeah, we would have to assess their hearing in a sound booth. So within coming in, we would have to book them in for basically about an hour to have them come in, get tested, get set up, get shown how to use it, how to put it in, how to take it out, all of that. That easily that can be done. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's where I would focus on that more than the mechanism of it. Like just describe, going through that, and maybe use your word palette exercise to, think of the right words to describe that or to name it. A test drive, we've just been saying that, but there may be like when I look at on the real estate side, we did the pinpoint price analysis for people to know exactly what their house would sell for. And we did the room by room review to show exactly what they should do and shouldn't do to get their house ready to sell. And then our silent market, where we've got the, we may already have a buyer for your house. So think about what those cookies could be. You've got your assessment, you've got your workshop, and then you've got this one-on-one opportunity to come in. And all roads should lead to that anyway, right? That's how it all starts. Do you ever let people, is there any opportunity for you to give people a free test drive, or do you guarantee your hearing aid, like the way beds are sold now? You see, try it for 100 nights, and if you don't love it, we'll take it back, kind of thing.
Yeah, so we would have them come in, do the setup for the test drive, and have them go away for usually about 2 or 3 weeks. I like because also when people start with hearing aids, it takes about a week to kind of get used to the cacophony, of sound, and adjust.
Because they're not used to hearing everything, right?
Yeah, and so if we just leave them at, here you go, come back in 3 weeks, I know that they're going to, likely have kind of a negative experience. Whereas if I can get them back in, again, I say take it for a test drive, come back in a week, and let's just see how you're doing, sort iron out any wrinkles and that kind of thing, and then send you away for another week or two and see how you do. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so that might be a great way. It's all about really lowering the fear of starting, of committing, because if they know that they're going to be happy with it, or not, and they're not going to lose anything if they're not happy, then it makes it easy to get started,
Yeah, and so I'm scaring them with the price quote by giving them the prescription right out of the gate. Yeah, wow, that's so bad.
but it's interesting, I mean, and it's okay because there's a difference between giving them a price quote, or giving them access to this is what the prices are without it being so personally attached, right? Because
totally.
a quote feels like you've made a proposal to me, and now I feel obligated to mull that over or to respond to that, But if you show me, well, here's the pricing guide, that doesn't feel like you're personally attached to that, and I'm not personally obligated to it.
Yeah, and
so
you're getting what you want.
Yeah, it changes the whole dynamic, right?
Totally.
And it's so funny because in almost every situation where price is an issue, sharing the price with people is a relaxing thing. And it's so funny because we've had different like fitness studios. We have a fitness studio here in Winter Haven. The highest converting opt-in on the website was the price guide. Higher than like putting up an offer for a book about weight loss or fat loss or skinny jeans or any of those things. When you put up the September 2017 price guide, that was the highest opt-in. That got more people to leave their name and their email than anything.
Well, I mean, really, isn't that? Go ahead.
I think you were going to say the same thing. That's what the objective is, right? It doesn't matter. I separate. This is one of the things that is like a ninja move, is separating the compelling from the convincing. And so all we're trying to do is turn an invisible prospect into a visible prospect, because you can't get a list of somebody who is starting to lose their hearing, right?
No.
Those are invisible prospects.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that you might be able to do, and I don't know whether this is an issue, is that somebody else may recognize that their spouse has a hearing problem more than they would recognize or admit it themselves.
Absolutely, it's typically driven for men. It's driven more from their wives. Women tend to be more. They tend to come in. I have a problem. Let's solve it. Done. Men are.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a problem, but their wife keeps pushing them in. So yeah, definitely.
Have you heard I have my favorite audiologist joke, that the man comes to his audiology friend and says, I think my wife's got a hearing problem. And he said, well, here's what you do is when you come home, you start at the front door and you call out. And if she doesn't respond, then you move a little closer and you call out, and then you move a little closer and you see how close you have to get till she responds. So he comes in and he goes, honey, what's for dinner? And no response. And he moves a little closer down the hall. He goes, honey, what's for dinner? And he moves a little closer. He's finally at the door to the kitchen. Honey, what's for dinner? And then he gets right up behind her and he says, honey, what's for dinner? And she goes, I told you 4 times, it's chicken.
That's awful.
So that's funny. He didn't even know he had the problem. But I wonder if if there might be something there about offering information that would be, how to talk to your husband or your wife about who tends to be more stubborn about the hearing situation. Is it men or women, or is it equally they're equally reluctant?
Oh, men are by far, way more stubborn and reluctant.
Yeah. Okay. And so maybe that's the thing, is what would be your advice to wives whose husbands are starting to have a hearing problem?
Well, the number one thing I would say is to not enable them. Don't repeat yourself.
Right. Yeah.
don't help them out and let them kind of realize that, okay, if I don't get the extra help, I'm not going to get by here very well.
Right, exactly, because that's just, that's not solving anything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting. We did one of the great headline things that we've done is this model of how to know, which is a great start to anything, right? So we did a mortgage ad that was how to know when it makes sense to refinance your home. And everybody else was screaming, now's the time to refinance. Rates have never been lower, whatever was going on. The reason that people weren't refinancing is if they just don't know if it makes sense, right? So when you say, how to know, so maybe that's maybe there's some opportunity to take like that, almost something that looks like an article, that would be how to know when your husband needs a hearing aid, or how to know, something like that along that line, how to know when is the time for your husband to get a hearing aid, or if your husband is having a hearing problem, or something like that, like joining into the conversation that's already going on in their head,
Yeah, and it's definitely a conversation if they're at that point, because it's extremely frustrating for a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, or maybe that whole thing of how to talk to your husband about his hearing or something, that's kind of helping equip them, making it kind of, informational kind of thing,
Yeah, totally.
Like content like that, and then offering the pricing guide,
Yeah, that's super cool, and an article would be just great for that, like an advertorial kind of thing. Yeah.
Right, that's exactly right.
Okay. Wow.
So that's because it's just part of it, I just look at ways in Profit Activator to get people to raise their hand, even if it's not if it's not immediately applicable. What you're getting is now somebody who's in that vortex, that they're in that you're turning an invisible prospect into a visible prospect.
And isn't it funny, Dean, how you can have that beaten into your head 1,000 times and think, in my case, think I'm doing that, but yet somehow still veering off and trying to step ahead too fast.
Right. Now, you mentioned about orchestrating referrals. So let's talk about that for a second before we wrap up. What's going on in your after unit there? Are you how are you communicating with your existing ears under management, we'll call it?
Well, okay, so a couple of different ways. When somebody the nice thing about what I do is it's consultative. So I'm always sitting across the table from somebody in person. And so when they come in, when they're happy, kind of elated with this new superpower they have of hearing, that's when I'll give them a book and say, okay, well, if you know anyone else we can help out with this, here's a free copy of our book. You can have, they're right here. You can take whatever you want and hand them out. That's one thing we do. I kind of always try to get that conversation ending with that. But what we also do is once somebody signs on with us, we have them onto a system that's it's fulfilled manually by my assistant, but it's a system where every 3 months we send them a reminder saying, hey, it's even if everything's working out okay with your hearing aid, still, if you get a chance, give us a call for an appointment to come in so we can make sure everything is great. And then in the bottom of that, I always PS it and say, the next time, you may have heard this before, the next time you hear somebody talking about hearing aids or hearing loss, give me a call, and I will send you a copy of my book that you can give to them.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah, awesome. So I think that's a cool thing. One of the things, like with something that's interesting, like because you've got a pretty high ticket item, and like good margins and everything on it. How many clients do you have right now? How many, like, I like that term, ears under management. How many?
I like that.
How many people do you have that are active clients, or that they're wearing hearing aids that you help them get?
I am going to tell you that in exactly about 5 seconds. I have 393.
Okay. So that's the thing where, like, you're right. They don't need to continue to hear about hearing aids because they already have hearing aids, right? And
right.
that's where something like the world's most interesting postcard that I do is the perfect kind of a vehicle, because it's interesting stuff on one side of the card, but then on the other side you can bring up the kinds of conversations that they're likely to be in, right? So we look at that all referrals happen as a result of conversation, and they have to notice that the conversation is about hearing or something peripherally related to that. They have to think about you, and then they have to let you know, introduce you to the person that they've had that conversation with, right? So if every month you are bringing up like a different situation, like if it's something like what would be the high probability conversations that those people would be having. And it might be that the wives are talking about their husband, or that they're hearing somebody talking about not being able to hear on the phone, or not being able to hear in restaurants when there's loud noises going on, or not being able to hear the TV, or to hear, I don't know are there any other things like tinnitus, or do people have ringing in their ears, or all of the different things that could trigger those conversations just raise the likelihood that when they hear a conversation, they notice it and they immediately think of you, because you're saying, just a quick note in case you hear someone talking about insert high probability conversation here,
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of thing where, with that kind of margins, right now, if you did the math in your after unit of the 380 or 93 people or whatever it was, how many referrals did you get in the last 12 months?
In the last 12 months, we've had 12 referrals.
12. Okay. So whatever that percentage is 3% referral. 3%. Mm-hmm. That's right now what you're managing this for, is a 3% return on relationship in your after unit.
Right.
Right. And so do you think that it's likely that those 390 plus people have had more than 12 conversations that were about hearing in some way over the last 12 months?
I think that's pretty realistic, yeah.
Yeah, I think so too, right? And that's the kind of thing where, if you got to that point where people are, they're noticing it more, I think it would be it'd be one of those things that would be a no-brainer for you,
Yeah, so having that, I was kind of doing that, I guess, on the bottom of my appointment reminder letters kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, the postcard would definitely be it would be more interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's kind of, that there's a thing where there's probably at least double that you could do as a result of it,
Yeah, and referrals are by far the best kind of people coming into my office.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, very cool. Well, to be honest, I've been getting the world's most interesting postcard. I've sat down a couple of times with it to try to hash that out, and I don't know where I came up with some kind of block about not really knowing what to put over on my picture side of that. But
right,
that's a small problem. So yeah, we're going to start running that out.
Yeah,
it's so easy. Yeah,
that's exactly right. Yeah.
Wow. Well, sure.
Well, it's all very exciting. So what's your action plan here? What did you hear from today?
Well, the first thing we're going to do is take down that price quote as a lead generator, and we're going to put together a guide which gives them market data. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to get the autoresponder to follow that kind of context, give them the book and whatnot. Change out my or add, I should say, the test drive and the questionnaire, which led them to the quote, down to as a cookie. Mm-hmm. That's probably the first thing we'll implement, or I'll implement today. World's most interesting postcard is going to be the big yellow sheet is going to be coming out and edited and sent out to our clients who we want referrals from.
Yeah.
And that's gonna happen monthly. And I think that's pretty much it. That's a lot.
That's pretty substantial. That's good. Yeah.
Those are some little tweaks, but who was it who said? Was Bill Glazer who said little hinges, or was it Dan Kennedy? Swing big doors.
That's exactly what it is. Little hinges swing big doors. That's exactly right. Well, Jamie, I had fun. This was a great conversation. It went fast too.
Yeah, it did. It always goes fast. It goes fast when you're listening to your podcast too. So it's always awesome. I really appreciate your time. This is cool. I'm excited to get this going.
Thanks, Jamie.
Yeah. Have a good weekend.
Talk to you soon. Thanks. You too. Bye-bye.
And there we have it. It's always nice to talk to people who have context for what we talk about. Jamie, you could tell just in listening to the way that he describes things and the things that he's already implemented, that he's been listening to and following along with I Love Marketing and More Cheese, Less Whiskers. So we were able to kind of advance the conversation on the foundation that he's already laid by listening into and implementing the things that he already knows. So I hope that was helpful for you. If you'd like to continue the conversation, you can go to morecheeselesswhiskers.com. You can download a copy of the More Cheese, Less Whiskers book. But what would be very helpful for you is if you went to profitactivatorscore.com and tried our Profit Activator scorecard. That will show you exactly where the opportunities are in your business for implementing the 8 profit activators. We go through each of the 8 and see where the strengths and opportunities are for your business. So you can do that at profitactivatorscore.com. Now, in this episode, you also heard Jamie talk about his book, and we were able to help him write that book at 90minutebooks.com. So if you've got a book that you would like to write as a lead generator, there's nothing more powerful than a book for getting invisible prospects to raise their hand. So 90minutebooks.com, you can download a copy of the 90-minute book and then If you're ready, we can help you do everything to get that book out into the world. That's it for this week. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you next time.